Have you ever wondered why Jesus spoke in parables? I mean, if you're trying to get a super important message across, wouldn't you want to be as clear and direct as possible? It seems a bit strange, right? To wrap up these profound, life-changing truths in simple, everyday stories about farming, fishing, or baking bread. It's like a world-class chef giving you the secret to their signature dish, but in the form of a riddle. Why not just hand over the recipe? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dive into today. We're going to unpack the genius behind Jesus' teaching method and discover why these seemingly simple stories are actually one of the most powerful and effective ways to communicate deep spiritual truths. Spoiler alert, it's not because he wanted to be confusing. In fact, it's quite the opposite. So let's start with the basics. What exactly is a parable? The word parable literally means to cast alongside. Think of it like this. You have a deep spiritual concept on one side, and on the other, you have a familiar, everyday story. Jesus casts the story alongside the spiritual truth, using the familiar to explain the unfamiliar. It's a bridge from the known to the unknown. For example, when he wanted to explain the kingdom of heaven, he didn't give a dry theological lecture. Instead, he said it's like a tiny mustard seed that grows into a huge tree, or like yeast that a woman mixes into flour until it works all through the dough. Suddenly, this abstract idea of God's kingdom becomes something tangible, something we can almost see and feel. It's small, it starts hidden, but its growth is unstoppable, and it impacts everything around it. That's the power of a parable. It takes the abstract and makes it concrete. Now, one of the most common questions is, if the point was to make things clear, why did Jesus himself say he spoke in parables so that some people wouldn't understand? In the Gospel of Mark, after telling the parable of the sower, his disciples ask him about it. He replies, "To you has been given the secret of the kingdom of God, but for those outside, everything is in parables, so that they may indeed see but not perceive, and may indeed hear but not understand, lest they should turn and be forgiven." That sounds pretty harsh, doesn't it? It almost sounds like Jesus was intentionally trying to exclude people. But to really get what's going on here, we have to look at the context. Jesus is quoting from the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah was sent to a people whose hearts had become hard. They had turned away from God, and his message was a final call, but also a judgment on their hardened state. When Jesus quotes this, he's doing something similar. He's speaking to a mixed crowd. There are eager disciples, curious onlookers, and skeptical religious leaders. The parables acted like a spiritual filter. For those with a soft, seeking heart, the disciples, the tax collectors, the outcasts, the stories sparked curiosity. They would hear the story of the lost sheep and think, could that be me? Does God really care that much about me? It would draw them in, making them ask questions and lean closer to Jesus to learn more. They wanted the recipe, but for those with hard, proud hearts like many of the Pharisees, the parables were just simple, foolish stories. They would hear about a farmer sowing seed and just shrug. They weren't interested in the deeper meaning because they thought they already had all the answers. The parables concealed the truth from those who weren't genuinely looking for it. It wasn't about excluding them, but about revealing the true condition of their own hearts. The door was open, but they refused to walk through it. The parables revealed who was truly hungry for truth and who was just there to criticize. Think of it like a beautiful piece of art. One person might walk by and see just a splash of colors on a canvas, but someone else, who takes the time to stop, look closer, and ponder, will see the emotion, the story, and the artist's intent. The parables are the same. They reward the engaged listener. They invite you to think, to question, and to dig deeper. They're not fast food for the soul. They're a gourmet meal that you have to sit down and savor. Another brilliant aspect of parables is that they are incredibly memorable. How many sermons have you heard that you've completely forgotten by the next day? I know I've forgotten plenty, but stories? Stories stick. We're wired for stories. Long after you forget a list of theological points, you'll remember the story of the Good Samaritan or the prodigal son. These stories bypass our intellectual defenses and go straight to our hearts and imaginations. When you hear about the father running to embrace his wayward son, you don't just understand the concept of forgiveness, you feel it. You picture the scene, the emotion, the embrace. The story gets planted in your memory, and you can revisit it again and again, drawing new insights each time. Jesus knew that if his message was going to last for thousands of years, passed down from person to person, it had to be sticky. And nothing is stickier than a good story. This leads to another key point. Parables are universally relatable. Jesus' audience was made up of farmers, fishermen, shepherds, and housewives. He used imagery from their daily lives. Sowing seeds, finding lost coins, dealing with dishonest managers. These were situations they understood intimately. By using these common, everyday scenarios, he made his teachings accessible to everyone, not just the religiously educated elite. And the amazing thing is, these stories still resonate today. We may not all be farmers, but we understand the concept of planting something and waiting for it to grow. We know what it feels like to lose something precious or to be treated with unexpected kindness. The human experiences at the core of these parables, love, forgiveness, justice, joy, are timeless. They cross cultures and generations, allowing Jesus' message to connect with people in any time and any place. It was a communication strategy for the entire world, for all of time. Finally, and perhaps most importantly, parables force us to make a decision. They aren't passive entertainment. They hold up a mirror and ask, where are you in this story? Are you the seed that fell on rocky ground, enthusiastic at first, but quick to give up when things get tough? Are you the older brother in the story of the prodigal son, dutiful and obedient, but secretly resentful and lacking joy? Are you the priest who walked by on the other side, or the good Samaritan who stopped to help? You can't listen to a parable neutrally. It calls for a response. It challenges our assumptions, confronts our prejudices, and invites us to see the world, God, and ourselves in a new light. Jesus wasn't just trying to impart information. He was trying to bring about transformation. He wanted his listeners to do more than just nod in agreement. He wanted their lives to change. The parables are designed to get under our skin, to trouble us, to inspire us, and ultimately, to lead us to a point of decision about Jesus and his kingdom. So, why did Jesus use parables? It was a masterful, multi-layered teaching method. They revealed truth to the hungry while concealing it from the proud. They were memorable and easy to retell, ensuring his message would spread far and wide. They were universally relatable, connecting with the core of the human experience. And they were provocative, demanding a personal response and leading to life transformation. Far from being confusing riddles, the parables are a divine invitation. They invite us to slow down, to think deeply, and to engage with the greatest story ever told. They show us that the kingdom of God isn't some far-off, abstract concept, but something that is right here in the midst of our ordinary lives, waiting to be discovered, like a hidden treasure in a field. Thanks so much for watching today. I hope this gives you a new appreciation for these incredible stories. If you found this helpful, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. And I'd love to know, what's your favorite parable and why? Let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video.